This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. After a random stranger tried to walk into their home on Friday, a West Fargo family is now speaking on the experience. Valley News team's Aaron Walling shares how some of the family members are feeling after the incident and tips on how you can help keep your family safe.
A family here in the Eagle Run community was on high alert after a stranger tried to walk into their home.
My son saw somebody walk by our window, which isn't, I mean, it's not nothing crazy. We have people over all the time, but, and then somebody just came up and they knocked on the door really hard, almost angrily, and then just tried to jiggle the handle and come in.
Randy Andren says his 7-year-old son saw the man open the front gate, saying the man was in a white hoodie with gray pants. The incident leaving an impression on his son.
But I mean, he was definitely freaked out. I mean, he was sitting down there thinking of contingency plans, like if this person were to come back and try to break into the house, and so he's pretty freaked out.
The West Fargo Police Department has tips online on how to help prevent break-ins from happening. This ranges from locking all of your doors and windows to installing alarm systems within the home.
Yeah, keep the doors locked. I know a lot of people in the neighborhood have one of those Ring doorbells. We're talking about getting one now. A lot of people have security cameras in there, so I mean, I would just check the footage, every now and then, and just make sure you're cognizant of that stuff. I mean, it is a relatively quiet neighborhood, but I mean, things kind of pick up in Fargo. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, having the doors locked is always a good principle to follow.
West Fargo PD says never try to stop the criminal yourself. In West Fargo, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
Now, for more tips on how you can help prevent break-ins, visit valleynewslive.com and click on this story. Meanwhile, a Polk County family is displaced tonight after a fire destroyed their home. The sheriff's office says the fire happened shortly after noon in Trail, Minnesota, which is about 15 minutes south of Oakley. Authorities say the fire started by a 20-pound propane tank that was brought inside to thaw out. A resident and a child were home when the fire started. They only suffered minor injuries. The house is now deemed a complete loss. At least one person has died and multiple others are hurt after a vehicle plowed through a holiday parade in Wisconsin this evening. More than 20 people were injured as a result of the incident. People were marching through the streets when the vehicle ran through the crowd. Also, there were reports of shots fired. The Waukesha police chief said they located the suspect vehicle and have a person of interest in custody. He said it's not known if this was an act of terrorism. The chief also said the shots fired were from an officer firing at the suspect vehicle as it ran through the parade barricade. Several organizations gathered in Kenosha, Wisconsin to protest the verdict in the Kyle Rittenhouse case. A group known as Reimagine Kenosha gathered with several other organizations for a peaceful protest. The group held up signs and chanted. At one point, a few people got up to speak to the crowd, and then they all marched through the streets. Members of the group said this is just the beginning of their protest and that more such rallies would be coming. 2 missionaries who were taken hostage in Haiti last month have been released, according to Christian Aid Ministries. Members of a gang are believed to have taken 16 Americans and 1 Canadian citizen hostage. The hostage takers were believed to be members of Ohio-based Christian Aid Ministries. The 17 people, which included 5 children, were taken hostage after visiting an orphanage in October. North Dakota recently allocated hundreds of millions of dollars for new oil and gas infrastructure. Not only is there a $150 million pipeline slated for the next few years, but there are millions available in grants for companies to apply for. While the money has not been assigned to a sector of the economy, there are still questions as to how the money will now get to companies. It has been less than a week since it passed, but phones are already ringing.
There's a tremendous amount of interest for not only that Grand Forks portion, but then the larger scale project west to east. There are a number of companies that are capable of providing that service, and so that we're going to have to come up with an appropriate method under the Industrial Commission to get that process ironed out.
The Industrial Commission is made up of the Governor, Attorney General, and the Agriculture Commissioner. They oversee and sign off on many research and commercial projects for the energy sector. After months of back and forth between progressive and moderate Democrats, the Build Back Better bill passed the House last week. But now there are questions about whether the pricey package will make it through the Senate. John Lawrence reports.
24, so get that one.
As many U.S. households worry about inflation, the Biden administration says its Build Back Better bill will make a difference.
This bill is going to be the biggest cost-cutting bill for working class and American families in decades in this country. And it's going to go at costs that are persistent problems for the American people in their lives.
The measure was approved by the House Friday, despite unanimous opposition from Republicans.
What the Democrats are proposing is out of touch in the extreme. What we have before us isn't a social spending bill. It's a pathway to socialism.
The bill now heads to the Senate, where its fate is less than crystal clear.
When the government does big things, it's not easy. It takes a lot of work and a lot of negotiation, and it's made all the harder because our Republican friends are intransigent against this bill.
The Biden administration says the $1.9 trillion bill will be fully paid for, even though an analysis from the Congressional Budget Office shows a significant shortfall.
Somebody has to pay for all of this. We got good programs at the state level that do a lot of these things. So look, more programs and all that sound good, but at the end of the day, they have to be paid for and they have to be sustainable.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer held a press conference today in New York City to discuss the price of insulin. He says the Build Back Better plan includes a provision that would bring the cost of insulin down tremendously. However, he says the GOP is aiming to kill that provision.
10 years ago, insulin was cheap and easy and accessible. But all of a sudden, it's gone up 12, 15, 17% a year, so now it's as high as $600. So to those in the GOP who want to say kill this provision, I say stand down, stand with the American people, many of whom are your own constituents battling diabetes and tremendous cost.
Senator Schumer says he will fight to keep the insulin cap in the deal. AAA says more than 53 million Americans are expected to travel for the Thanksgiving holiday. With travel forecasts to return to near pre-pandemic levels, health experts are keeping a watchful eye on rising COVID numbers in parts of the nation. Tom Hansen reports.
With Thanksgiving just days away, Americans are on the go this holiday season. Well over 2 million people are passing through airport security each day. A new pandemic high.
We're all taking different precautions.
Even with COVID cases on the rise, former FDA Commissioner Dr. Scott Gottlieb says the situation is far better than a year ago, when an average of about 170,000 new daily COVID cases were reported.
But we're probably not as good as we should be given all the tools we have between the vaccines and the highly effective drugs, and also how much infection we've had in this country and how much immunity is already in place.
Nationwide, new cases are up nearly 54% in the last month. Michigan, Minnesota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin are among the hardest hit states. Now that the CDC has cleared the way for Americans 18 or older to get a booster shot, there are growing questions about the prospect for additional boosters.
We would hope, and this is something that we're looking at very carefully, that third shot with the mRNA not only boosts you way up, but increases the durability so that you will not necessarily need it every 6 months or a year. We're hoping it pushes it out more.
Meanwhile, Disney is reversing course on vaccine mandates for workers at Walt Disney World in Florida. The move comes after Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation restricting workplace mandates.
Booster shots are becoming available in the Fargo area now that the green light has been given for all adults to get a third dose of a Moderna or Pfizer vaccine. Fargo Cass Public Health is expanding their availability of booster shots starting this Tuesday. Individuals can receive their third dose during their vaccine walk-in clinic. Hours are from noon to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays. Additional walk-in clinics will be added on Fridays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. starting December 3rd. The clinic Clinics are still open for availability for those looking to get their first or second shot of a COVID-19 vaccine. Registering ahead of time is strongly encouraged. Fargo Cass is located at 1240 25th Street South. And starting tomorrow in Grand Forks, children 5 to 11 years old can get a dose of a Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine through the Grand Forks Public Health. Shots are available by appointment only. The vaccination clinic runs through Wednesday at the Grand Cities Mall, located at 1826 South Washington Street. The clinic is open all 3 days, starting at 12:30 p.m. Later on Valley News Live at 10, a simple act of kindness is making a lasting impact. We'll tell you how an East Grand Forks restaurant owner is helping one man in his time of need. But first, Summer's up next with a quick look at your Thanksgiving weather planner.